Welcome back to Yoshi Entertainment, everybody. So, as usual, when I woke up and I took to Twitter, I found that it was in flames, and the reason is very interesting and very familiar, I might say. Now, I don't know if this is clickbait or if this is, just a rumor that they put out there to test the waters or to see how people were going to react, or, like I said, just a rumor to mess with people, but apparently, allegedly, they are putting a live action movie, Lilo and Stitch movie, possibly out there. And they were kind of going through some prospects on who they could get to play Nani, which is Lilo's older sister. Now, according to this Twitter post, there is a young woman who, and let's get this straight, this woman is not racially, I guess you would say is the proper term to use, Hawaiian. She was born in Hawaii, but racially she is half white and half, I believe, Filipino. The person who made these Twitter posts, the series of Twitter posts, right on Twitter, I have it on the screen, but I encourage you to go look at the original on Twitter, was trying to explain, as she said right from the Twitter post, you have native Hawaiians, which are indigenous of the Hawaiian Islands, that are known as Polynesians because they have, that dark skin. They have the Polynesian culture. This is obvious, like we should be able to wrap our heads around this. Just because somebody is born in Hawaii does not mean that they are of Polynesian descent, which is the point she was trying to get across. You saying you are Hawaiian because you were born there is the same as you saying you're from Texas because you were born there. You're from California because you were born there. Hawaiian, Texan, Californian, that's where you're born. That's not your race. That's not your descent. Which again is a point she's trying to make. They are trying to say that this clearly white woman, is of Polynesian descent and should represent Polynesian culture in this movie that is very much centered around Polynesian culture. And that is where we have issue at. And I agree with this person in these Twitter posts. She is not quite clearly from the Polynesian culture. We've already put her, ancestry out there. And some people tried to gaslight this person and say, oh, well, it says that she's from Hawaii on Wikipedia, as if Wikipedia hasn't been wrong or the internet can't be scrubbed. Yeah, she's from Hawaii, but she's not of Polynesian descent. Quite clearly, obviously. I do agree that they should find somebody who is of Polynesian descent to play the character and the role of Nani because they are from the culture, they understand, you know what I'm saying? Because the movie, like I said, is very centered and rooted in Polynesian culture. Two young girls, they were both still children, even though the older sister Nani was like 18, if I do remember correctly. But anyways, two young children who lost their parents, unfortunately, at a young age and had to navigate life and still embrace the idea of family, like I said, in this Polynesian culture, because the two of them were all that they had after they lost their parents. And this older sister basically busting her behind, trying to provide for herself and for her kid sister. Like, I don't really think people understand how deep this movie really was in that aspect. Like, this 18-year-old who should have been able to do things that 18-year-olds do, like enjoy her life, do stuff that's fun that 18-year-olds do, not getting in trouble. Now, like I said, just doing some stuff that 18-year-olds do for fun. But she had to put all that on the back burner to get a job so that she could work to take care of her kid sister as if she were the mother now, which she was. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was robbed of a lot of stuff at a young age. And on top of that, having to deal with a child that she doesn't know how to rein in, who's dealing with the same trauma that she's dealing with, but doesn't know how to process it as well because she's a child. Meanwhile, Nani is trying her best to keep custody of her kid sister while said kid sister is acting a plumb fool. Like I said, it was because of the trauma, I believe, and just her being a young child. That's what, young children do, unfortunately, especially when you don't discipline them correctly. But like I said, on top of that, she was dealing with the trauma of the loss of their parents. But Lilo was acting a plumb fool. Like, I don't think people really remember Lilo and Stitch the way I remember it. Because if I had been Nani, listen, I would have kicked Lilo's behind. There, I said it. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but if I'm busting my behind to make sure I'm taking care of the both of us so you don't get taken by the same people that they're trying to cast Nani as, and she's acting a plumb fool, I've been like, listen, we're both going through it, but you're gonna have to do something. Either you're gonna have to do something or we're not about to be together. And that's basically what she told her. She was like, listen, you talk about family this, family that, I'm gonna need you to act right. Cause if you don't, ain't no family. Ain't gonna be no family. Cause them people gonna take you, and that's that. But anyways, getting back on track from the sidebar. So there was some person in the comments, not one person, multiple people who, it's the gaslighting for me. It's the gaslighting and the hypocrisy, y'all. somebody posted this picture talking about basically calling everybody of color who said anything about a black character being replaced by a white character, whitewashing, racist, and used this whole picture as their talking point. They also love to use The Little Mermaid as their bashing point. Ever since they cast Halle Bailey in that movie, I feel like there are some people who are going to die on the hill of using that as a bashing point to excuse whitewashing. But anyways, like I said before, it's the gaslighting for me. It's the hypocrisy and the lack of intelligence. The difference between The Little Mermaid and a movie like Lilo and Stitch. First of all, The Little Mermaid is a movie based on a mermaid. A mermaid does not have a race. There was no culture that they were centered around in The Little Mermaid. They just chose a white face to represent The Little Mermaid. And there were all kinds of different people from different descents in that movie. Did we forget that the talking crab was a Jamaican man? Did we forget that? Or did we just ignore it to, push whatever we're trying to push? There was no culture, like I said, being focused on in The Little Mermaid. There are both white people and black people who have acknowledged this and said that they did not see a problem with Halle Bailey being cast as a Little Mermaid. But you've got that certain demographic, who we all know who I'm talking about, that has a problem with it. As for all the rest of these characters from comic books, places like the DC Universe and Marvel, and whatnot, these people are fictional characters. Again, who were not focused around a particular culture or race. There was somebody who mentioned in the Twitter comments that these characters, they've all been white to begin with. They've all given these little white kids and white people something to see to identify with on screen. It's been like that for quite some time, and they didn't have a problem with that as long as they were being represented. But the moment they tried to change that so that little black kids and black people can have representation in these characters and an identity, what they see on screen, y'all have a problem with it? That's an issue, a deep-rooted issue, and we all know what it is. It ain't rocket science or brain surgery. Also, two major points before I move on to the next thing. The reason why I find pictures like that last one with all the white characters next to the black characters really stupid and ignorant is because it doesn't take into account the characters, the cartoon characters, the people, the images that were based on and made by black people who were whitewashed before they even made it to the big screen. So people don't even know that they were made by black people before they even saw them. We can use Betty Boop as an example. And if you don't know about Betty Boop, do some research. Was a character and an image made by a black woman that was whitewashed before most people even knew who Betty Boop was, and had people thinking that Betty Boop was originally a white woman. Like I said, do your research. The other point that I wanted to make is, I know y'all all saw Queen Charlotte from Bridgerton up there on that post. That was the stupidest point of them all, because while the series is fictional, it is still, or at least that part is, based off of real events and real people in real history. There was a queen who was biracial, half black and half white, who did marry, into the royal family. Y'all are all talking about Meghan Markle and praising Meghan Markle. Please! Charlotte was the original Meghan Markle before Meghan Markle came along. Like I said, do your research. Now, let me go back to the Little Mermaid aspect. So I was listening to Candace Owens, what she had to say, I guess, about this. And sometimes I do agree with what she says, but sometimes I do believe she puts on a cape for a certain demographic. And once again, y'all know who I'm talking about. And she was trying to say, I don't think people are mad because of the racial aspect. They're just mad because they wanted, the Little Mermaid to look like who she looked like, in the original movie. But at the same time, why would we pay to go see a movie that was exactly alike? Like, yeah, we want our childhood, put on the big screen in live action to be able to relive the nostalgia. But do we really want everything copy and pasted? Because that's kind of ridiculous on our part to pay 2 times to see the same movie, I think, maybe. And also, it's all fun and games and you putting on a cape for this demographic until they come out of the woodworks, because they like to do it on Twitter. You can find them on Twitter all the time because, like I said, Twitter is a godless place of savagery filled with very disrespectful and racist individuals. But they will come out of the woodwork and tell you, it has nothing to do with that. We just don't want a black Little Mermaid. We don't want a black mermaid. We don't want to see black people on screen. We just want white people all day, every day. So is it really an issue of people wanting to see the original Little Mermaid, or is it a them not wanting to see black people on screen issue. Because I'm going to lean a little bit more towards, it's just me thinking, putting some thoughts out there, that it's them not wanting to see a black woman on screen. You know what I'm saying? Black people, black men, you get my drift? Now, the thing I have with Disney, I felt on the fence about this movie when it first came out, because I get it. People are saying, well, Disney's trying to learn from their previous mistakes. They're not trying to be racist. They're trying to, present representation for black people. And if that was the case and the intentions, then I applaud them for that. But deep down inside, I don't think it has anything to do with representation. And I'm going to say allegedly to cover my own behind, because that's what we do over here at Yoshi Entertainment. I think it has more to do with them wanting to be controversial, because they knew if they put a black woman in the spot of Ariel, people were going to lose their minds. Like, everybody already knew this. People were going to lose their minds. And I feel like that was why they did it more. Not because they wanted little black girls to have an identity in the Black Little Mermaid. No. They wanted outrage. They wanted mess. They wanted to use the same fuel that these algorithms on these social media platforms use to promote that movie. Outrage, messiness, racism, toxicness, because that's what came out of people seeing a black woman represent a mermaid that was previously represented by a white woman on screen. They knew that this was going to happen. I know that they did. Now, they said the director of the movie cast Halle Bailey because he felt like her voice matched a Little Mermaid very, very well. At least she still has red hair, but no, they couldn't accept even that. The fact that the woman is phenomenally talented, her voice is the right pitch and comes with everything to give Little Mermaid, and that she at least had red hair. No, they didn't care about that at all. They said, get that caramel girl off this screen right now. Like I said, I don't think it has anything to do with it not being the same person that they saw in the comics or in the original cartoon. It has to do with them not wanting black people on screen. Let's just call it what it really is. Going back to the cultural aspect, just like in Wakanda, Black Panther, they had black people, a black man cast as T'Challa because it was rooted in a culture of blackness and the African culture. Why in the world would you cast somebody white? Why? Another example is Mulan, the Asian culture of that area. Why in the world would you not cast somebody in the live remake from that culture? It's only common sense. The same thing with this movie in Polynesian descent. Why in the world would you not cast somebody of Polynesian descent to represent Polynesian problems, Polynesian culture, Polynesian family? Like, people love to bring, like I said, the hypocriticalness, the gaslighting, the stupidity, but it's actually quite simple when you really think about it. And I get so sick and tired of that certain demographic we've been talking about, wanting to identify with a struggle or be disenfranchised so bad to have everything be always about them and then gaslight people and bash people over the head with stupidity when they can't get their way or exert their privilege. Like, I get so sick and tired of it. And this is my last point. I'm done, okay? Somebody posted this, and look at this Twitter. Look at this Twitter name. Y'all already know what it's up. Somebody posted this. Like I said, the entire Bridgerton series is still based in fiction, very much so, with some historically accurate facts here and there. And let me also add this in there. We talk about history, this and that, but for all we know, what we think happened in history could have been something slightly different. I'm not talking about slavery, because people love to gaslight people on slavery. I'm talking about these minute details, like with this example, who Anne Boleyn really was. We only know what they told us. But what if this woman was a completely different person? There's always that aspect to think about, but I'm not going to go into that because, again, the gaslighters and the cuckoo people will come out of the woodworks. But anyway, since they brought it here, talking about blackfishing, are you kidding me? Since they brought it here, let's remind, every time somebody does something like this in response to one time or two times, or anytime somebody tries to use a black person in a role that has nothing to do with anybody's culture, okay, to represent for representation, where there was a white person in that role, representing that role, and then they try to call it blackwashing. Okay, let's remind them of the original washing that's still going on today. Take a look at the screen. Just take a good look at it. The original whitewashing that still goes on today. They love to talk about this stuff, and this is the hypocrisy I was talking about. But when you remind them that they have still whitewashed who Jesus was, because Jesus was not a white man. No white person lacking in melanin would have survived in that area of the world. Are you kidding me? Really, people? And some white people still refuse to admit that they have whitewashed Jesus since day one. And it's ridiculous. Like, they won't even let black people. Like, I honestly feel like if they let a black person, if any studio or director let a black person play Jesus in a film on the big screen, they probably would riot. They probably would riot. And then, like I said, they always hit you with the, oh, well, when we whitewash one of your characters, don't say anything. Y'all have been doing it. Y'all been doing it. Y'all are still doing it. Are you kidding me? But anyways, I'm with Roy Wood Jr. Let them have these characters, because everybody's going to be pissed if they come out with a white Marcus Garvey or a white Tupac, because that's what they're going to try to pull. Like, if y'all keep asking for representation. If they don't want to give it to y'all, then create your own characters. I hate to say it that way. But in a world where we know privilege exists amongst certain demographics and individuals, you got to get out and make your own stuff. Because asking some of these people to represent you, and even when some of them do, there's always going to be backlash. Always. But anyways, y'all let me know what y'all thinking, how y'all feel down in the comments below. Respectfully, don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all have a blessed, racism-free day.